The shock landed like a thunderclap over KwaZulu-Natal. A set of divorce papers quietly filed behind the scenes, now exposed to the public, suddenly placing the entire Zulu kingdom under a spotlight brighter than anything seen in decades. One document, barely a few pages long, has managed to rattle centuries of tradition, unsettle once unbreakable alliances, and raise the kind of questions monarchies elsewhere have needed years, sometimes generations, to confront. Hit the subscribe button as you hear more about our love, and in the next few minutes, you're entering the heart of everything the kingdom is trying to hold together. You'll discover why these papers matter far beyond the couple at the center of the storm, what they reveal about the evolving role of royal marriages, how the fallout is shaping succession debates, and why this moment could mark a turning point for the cultural identity of millions. By the end, one unexpected link, hidden in plain sight, will turn your understanding of the monarchy on its head. Before diving deeper, imagine this. Your family is going through a private argument, painful and complicated. Now imagine waking up to discover that everyone, friends, strangers, journalists, advisors, elders, political leaders, is debating your relationship as if it belonged to them. That's the situation unfolding in the Zulu kingdom. A personal dispute is now a national conversation. So here's the challenge. If a single document could destabilize a centuries-old institution, what could it do to an entire nation watching the drama unfold? The unraveling of a royal marriage always carries weight, but this one feels different. A union once celebrated as a symbol of continuity now stands in a fragile place. The separation is no longer about two individuals. It has spread into the political oxygen of the kingdom. Allegiances that once seemed permanent are shifting. Conversations once held in whispers now spill into public debate. The truth is simple. When a royal marriage shakes, the entire kingdom feels the tremor. The biggest question is how such a deeply personal issue escaped the palace walls at all. Divorce is no stranger to the modern world, but within a monarchy, every word carries symbolic power. The leak of the legal filing, appearing across media platforms and court corridors, didn't just reveal a marital dispute. It became ammunition for those seeking to steer the kingdom's direction. Suddenly, private signatures became public weapons, and actors both inside and outside the palace began framing the narrative in ways that suit their interests. One moment of silence can reshape a kingdom. Behind the royal titles and ceremonial attire lies a surprising truth. Marriages in monarchies aren't only emotional commitments. They occupy constitutional, spiritual, and cultural roles. When such a union fractures, the damage spills beyond the relationship itself. It touches the symbols that reassure communities of stability. It challenges the legitimacy and serenity expected of the throne. And above all, it exposes how fragile symbolism can be when personal realities collide with institutional expectations. The kingdom watches, and the air thickens. People are now wondering how rituals, ceremonies, and royal functions will unfold in the coming months. Suddenly, every public appearance raises a dozen questions. Who stands next to the king? Who accompanies him in key events? Who advises him behind closed doors? In royal systems, presence is power, and absence is even louder. The emotional weight merges with political uncertainty. It becomes clear that public perception shapes royal stability as much as tradition does. And perception is moving. Older members of the community recall times when previous royal disputes quietly shaped the direction of the throne. Those stories resurface as families, elders, and loyalists take sides, sometimes subtly, sometimes boldly. Supporters emerge from unexpected corners. Critics begin to whisper their assessments of the king's emotional judgment. Rivals sense opportunity in the cracks. Suddenly, the palace resembles an arena where every gesture carries meaning. And meaning becomes strategy. This moment forces an uncomfortable question. What happens when modern legal frameworks collide with centuries-old customs? The divorce papers bring formal law directly into a space traditionally governed by ancestral authority, negotiation, and cultural diplomacy. Community leaders now debate which system has final say. The kingdom is shaken by clashes between those who insist on customary procedure and those who believe legal rights must apply even within the monarchy. The past and present face each other without warning. At the heart of this conflict lies a dual reality that cannot be ignored. On one hand, traditional structures expect loyalty, continuity, and a particular public image from those who marry into royalty. On the other, modern society recognizes individual autonomy, legal protection, and personal rights. These two forces now meet in the courtroom and the council hall. And as the royal spouse asserts herself through legal channels, many citizens, especially women, see a reflection of their own struggles. The kingdom evolves, whether it wants to or not. The emotional ripple spreads beyond the palace. Ordinary families begin projecting their own experiences onto the royal couple, discussing the situation as if they were participants rather than observers. Households debate whether the queen's actions reflect courage or rebellion. Communities reflect on changing gender roles. Grandmothers recall marriages of endurance, young women speak of independence. Suddenly, the royal divorce feels like a national mirror, and that mirror reveals shifting values. If you want to follow more stories like this, moments where culture, power, and personal life collide, make sure to subscribe now, because the next twist in this unfolding saga shows exactly how fragile modern monarchies can be in the age of public scrutiny. What emerges next is something few expected. This divorce could influence conversations around succession. While the legal separation itself may not change lineage, perception plays a critical role in royal stability. Opposing factions may use this moment to question the king's judgment or emotional readiness. Supporters, meanwhile, rally harder. Every detail is interpreted through political lenses. Rumors become currency. The throne feels heavier. The legal process behind the divorce papers also forces the kingdom to confront issues usually kept behind ceremonial curtains. When marriages end, questions naturally arise around property, responsibilities, and finances. For monarchies, those questions are explosive. Public resources sometimes mix with private assets. Tradition sometimes clashes with legal definitions of marital property. The result is a sudden demand for transparency. And transparency changes everything. But beyond all structural matters lies something deeply human, the emotional burden placed on the king himself. Leadership doesn't cancel personal grief. Public responsibility doesn't shield anyone from heartbreak. The monarch must now maintain a calm public presence while navigating pain behind closed doors. The country watches a man who must be both symbol and human at the same time. That tension is exhausting. Political advisors, cultural guardians, and senior royals gather behind the scenes, attempting to contain the crisis without amplifying it. Meetings stretch late into the night, balancing legal strategy against cultural sensitivity. Every decision carries consequences. Should the palace issue a statement? Should it remain silent? Should the king address the situation personally? Each path risks backlash. Leadership becomes an act of delicate survival. The role of media intensifies everything. Journalists rush to present their versions of events, sometimes with limited evidence, sometimes guided by anonymous sources. Social media accelerates speculation. A single silence from the palace feeds 2 days of rumors. A single phrase from a lawyer becomes a trending national debate. Silence is both shield and battlefield. Historians begin drawing comparisons to past moments when the Zulu monarchy faced turmoil, from disputes between royal houses to conflicts over succession. But they emphasize one striking difference. Never before has such a deeply personal royal matter unfolded under the magnifying glass of digital society. The speed of public reaction, the global reach of commentary, and the democratized access to information transform a private dispute into an international narrative. Tradition meets real-time scrutiny. This moment also raises questions about the future role of queens, royal partners, and consorts. Younger generations see in this conflict a broader conversation about autonomy, respect, and equality. For some, the divorce is a sign of cultural evolution. For others, a dangerous deviation from sacred norms. The monarchy becomes a stage where debates about identity play out, and identity evolves under pressure. Then attention shifts to the royal children, symbols of the kingdom's future. Their well-being becomes a national concern, reflecting the personal cost behind the public spectacle. Communities fear the emotional burden placed upon them. Elders hope they'll grow understanding the weight of their lineage. Every step taken now affects not only their lives but the monarchy they will one day represent. The stakes deepen. Across the province, citizens express contrasting reactions. Some call for respect and privacy for the royal family, insisting that tradition must be upheld and that public interference only makes matters worse. Others argue that modern rights must apply even to the royal household and that the spouse's decision to seek legal remedy is justified. The kingdom enters a tension-filled dialogue about the balance between cultural preservation and individual freedom. It becomes clear that society is changing. And finally, historians and political analysts join voices to highlight a global reality. Monarchies everywhere are facing similar moments. From Europe to Asia to the Middle East, royal families are learning that modern law, public opinion, and digital transparency are reshaping ancient institutions. The Zulu kingdom stands at a crossroads shared by monarchies across the world. Those that adapt survive. Those that resist transformation struggle. Tradition is powerful, but evolution is inevitable. As the narrative comes to a close, the truth remains striking. A single set of divorce papers, intended as a private legal step, has transformed into a national turning point. What seemed like a relationship matter now influences symbolism, political stability, gender identity, modern expectations, and cultural legacy. The Zulu kingdom finds itself navigating one of its most delicate transitions in recent memory. And as the world watches, the next chapter promises to reveal even more about how power, emotion, and identity collide within a modern African monarchy. More stories are coming, stories that unravel the hidden complexities of traditional leadership in the digital age, and how public power and personal life intertwine in ways no one can predict. Click the subscribe button to know more about our love.